Hi, I'm Kenneth WAJDA. I'm a professional photographer here in Colorado. Welcome to another one of my weekly photography talks. So today I'm going to talk about cameras and their history. So I was at a thrift store in my town, and they had this sitting there. It was marked $5.50, but it was a day where everything was 50% off. So for $2.75, I picked up this old 8mm camera. I'm fascinated because a lot of times these cameras, they're actually not movie reels. I actually have some 8mm film in my refrigerator that I could actually run through this. And it's 8mm, it's not the magazine. The magazine, they also made kind of the same shape. And you had to have magazines that fit in there. And if you can't buy an 8mm magazine anymore, so maybe you could find an old one and reload it, but that's problematic and difficult. It's got a little viewfinder here. You just look through a hole in the back and you line it up with this little window. Such a simplicity for a 1930s era movie camera that works. These things kind of can't not work because they're so simple. But the idea of this is I didn't buy necessarily to shoot it. I bought it because I enjoy living with things like this as a part of my world. Because I wonder, where was this? 1930s in the US, what has it seen? Where did it go? Kodak was promoting photography with the Kodak girl and photographs and taking movies of your family. All of those 1940s magazines like Popular Photography that came out after the war, they were all promoting making your own photographs and making your own movies. So what did this see? Where has this been? I have a box camera behind me usually, but I brought it down today. It's a Box Tangor Zeiss camera, and the same thing. I want to shoot this. I really do want to shoot this. I just don't get around to shooting all my cameras all the time. But where has this camera been? This is a camera probably, I think, from the 40s, and shoots 120 film, 6:9 negative, big negative, bigger negative than, Hasselblad by 50% bigger. So where has it been? What has it seen? I love the simplicity of old box cameras where they have a viewfinder on top for shooting vertically and a viewfinder on the side for shooting horizontally. And it's so simple of a design. I also am fascinated by how they made it so that you would guarantee success. If you put a tiny aperture in a camera and you shoot in bright light, chances are you'll get something in focus. And that's pretty much how these work. This one actually has a little bit of a focus control and a couple of apertures, but for the most part, they didn't have anything. They counted on a small aperture and bright sun to put most things in focus. And it worked. And those elements of living with cameras that are a part of my decor, like I said, I'm a user of cameras. I typically don't buy cameras that are broken, that just are for decoration. And if this didn't work, maybe I wouldn't have bought it, but the fact that it runs, the fact that I have some 8mm spool film in my refrigerator, and the fact that it's so simple and inexpensive, that just seems like a win to me. And certainly it's a great display piece. It's the kind of thing that generates conversation when people come to visit me. And I ask them, sometimes I don't think anybody would remember any of their family members using these. I remember some of the old Kodak Brownie 8mm and Super 8 when I was a kid, but I think this is older. I don't think anybody would remember this so much. But I'm fascinated by having some of that equipment around in my world. I guess it defines a little bit about who I am and what I value. And I'm a history buff. I appreciate the history of things. I appreciate photographs that document our world and photographs that document history. And all of these did. And it's a wonder of what did they see? Where were they? And what did they create? And are those photographs in those movies, are they still around? If those movies were shot on Kodachrome, I bet they are. If those photographs were printed, somewhere they are. But where? All right, that's today's photography talk, getting nostalgic. If you're enjoying these, hit the subscribe button. Do you have any old cameras that you use for display pieces? If you can support, hit the Patreon. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll be back next week As always, here's the good light.